Okay, I'm just gonna make myself a little bit bigger. Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna be talking about my three different UFO sightings. Um, so I don't even know where to start. So like, okay, first of all, let's lay some groundwork first, right? Okay, like if you think that we're the only like intelligent species on this planet or whatever, sorry, but I think that's like incredibly naive, and I think people need to get a little bit more woke. I mean, it's 2019, guys. Like, there's so much stuff out there. Like, we live in such a like high access information era. Like, you should be exposed to something a little bit by now, right? And by the way, like on all these stories, like I definitely was not like high, wasn't drunk, wasn't like on anything, no drugs, nothing like that. No, just like completely sober, just just me just being an observer, right? And I consider myself to be a very good observer. Okay, I'm just like that type of person. Like I'm honestly just a quiet person, and like if I'm around people that I like and stuff, I'm pretty talkative, but like in general, like my default is like I'm pretty quiet and I'm just an observer, right? That's just the type of person I am. But anyways, that's just I want to get that out there first. Okay, now since that's established, so this first story is actually insane. This was this was around like winter 2012, and this was around the time when like there was all that talk about like, oh, the world's ending like 2012, like the whole Mayan calendar ordeal or whatever. Um so I was living in Tukwila, Washington. So hey, I was living in Tuck House. So shout out to Tuck House. Shout out to everyone that's been to Tuck. Shout out to you guys, the regulars there. Shout out to my smashers. Um, but basically, yeah. So this happened. So okay, here's the story. So here we go. Um, this was like okay. So it happened. This was like 3 in the morning, and I was playing Dota. I was playing Dota 2. I think Dota 2 is still like coming out. I don't know. I was playing 3 in the morning. I was playing Dota, and the power goes out. And the thing is like the power like never goes out in the house. I actually come to think of it, like I don't think the power has ever really gone out at the Tuck. I think maybe on two accounts, but this was like the first time it's happened, and I was surprised. I was like, oh man, like dang. I was first irritated because I was like, oh man, like I was right in the middle of my game. I was like, really, like I just wanted to play, right? So power goes out, and like the thing is like where the house is like it's on a hill, and it's on a hill with many other houses, and so the whole hill is on the same grid. And so it's 3 in the morning, and like the power goes out, and it is like pitch black dark outside. Like I have actually never seen like how dark it can get when all the lights are out. Like usually it's like, if it's like late at night, usually some of the neighbors and stuff would have like some of the porch lights on or something. There would be some light, and even there was even a street light that would always just be on like during the night. And so even that was out. Like the whole hill was completely dark. And I was like, God, man, this is annoying. And so it's like 3 in the morning, and it's like, man, I didn't really feel like going to sleep. So I was still kind of wired. I was like, it's just, just was playing games like just then, right? And so the first thing I do is just, I go to my phone because it's just, it's like your first like light source, right? So I go to my phone, and I'm just like kind of like I don't know, waiting for I don't know. I'm just kind of like killing time. It's just like I'm not really that tired. I go to my window. So I have a. By the way, I have this paint. Uh, I decided to do this video like on my computer, uh, because that way I can like draw everything out. Because I've explained this story to like a couple people, and like how things are framed and the imagery of things is kind of like relevant. So anyway, I go to my window, and I look outside my window, and it is like it's completely dark. Okay, so the only light is basically the little bit of moonlight that's provided by the moon. So like there is a little bit of cloud cover, and the clouds basically sort of um, they were the only thing illuminating in the sky because the light was basically just like bouncing off the cloud, and so that was kind of the only thing that was even visible. You could see basically the silhouette of like the trees in the background and stuff, but in terms of like light, it was just basically the clouds, right? And so here I'm gonna try and draw. Here we go. Now you guys can critique my expert paint skills. Okay, so this is my window. Okay, I know, right? We're trying. Okay, um, it's like roughly like this, and oh man, I don't know how to explain this. Let's see. So basically, gosh, this is crazy. I look up. So here, let me draw some clouds first. So basically, there were I'm just gonna draw some trees. These are trees, okay? Just bear with me, whatever. And then I'm gonna draw some clouds, some happy, pretty little clouds. It's like Bob Ross or something, right? So these are my clouds. And so I look up, and God, I get the chills every time I explain this. But I look up and I see this silhouette of a disc-shaped object, and the clouds basically provided sort of the canvas. And like what I mean when I use the word canvas, because the object was like in front of the clouds. It was in front of the clouds. It was either like in the clouds or in front of them. And so the clouds, because they were lit up, they basically provided like the background for what I'm looking at, because everything else is completely dark. And so this disc, I don't even know how to draw this. Let's take away some clouds. Let's make a bigger cloud, and then it was something like this. So I look up, and this thing is literally, so this thing is invisible. And the thing is like I look up and like my eyes, like, so you can't see this thing as like an opaque like solid object. It's basically like is basically invisible. And the reason that I notice it was because your eye basically just like finds motion. Like your eye will just snap to it, right? Like you've ever been in a room with like a fly flying around, and then all of a sudden the fly would like, you lose track of it and it's like sitting somewhere, and then you realize like all you have to do is just like kind of have your eyes stationary at one point, and then the moment the fly will move again, your eye will pick up the movement. Okay, so it's like you're picking up the movement of this thing. And so I see this thing, and it's, man, it's so crazy. It was basically like moving across the clouds, and it was completely invisible. And this all happened within like 4 seconds or something. It was something like 4 seconds. It was like kind of long, actually. 4 real seconds of this thing happening, and it was like, anyways. So here, this is the other thing I wanted to show, because I wanted to show, whenever I explain this to people, I always reference StarCraft. It's this like RTS game. If you haven't heard of StarCraft, then what are you doing, right? Like, come on. So I found this video, and it basically just shows how invisible. I just wanted to show like how invisible units look when they move over a background. So here, can I just? I have this all here. Can you guys see that? Did I do that right? Okay. Here. This is like it's like whatever. It's like using splash to. But here, look at the here. Can you see the motion blur of these invisible units. Like you can't, like in StarCraft, you can't interact, like you can't attack those units unless you have like a detector unit basically. But here, let me go back. Do you guys see that? It's like right around here. That motion blur, that's what I saw. It's like that effect. But like they were going over the clouds, right? And so I look up and I was like, oh my god, what the hell is this thing? And so like I'm like, okay, so I'm a very inquisitive person and I'm super curious, right? And so when I saw this thing, I was like, oh my god, like I want to get out of the house and I need to like investigate, right? But the feeling that I got was so insane because my mind was like, hey, you should go investigate. But my instinct was like actually putting me in my place so hard. And I've actually never felt this feeling before. So this is how real it was for me because like otherwise I would have just gone outside. There was something that was putting me in my place, like the sort of how do I say it? The animal the animal instinct in me or something. I don't know how to say it. It was a real fear. It was like the fear of the unknown. Like I looked at that, and the thing is too, on a side note, like I remember looking up and I remember like um rubbing my eyes as if like my eyes were like messing up. I thought my eyes were just like malfunctioning. I was like, oh, I was just playing Dota. I was just playing computer games at 3 in the morning, and then the power went out. I was like, okay, probably my eyes are. I'm probably just like wired or something. But I instinctively rub my eyes, and I never do this. Like I've worn glasses like pretty much my whole life, but like I trust my senses, and I instinctively like rub my eyes. I remember this. I was like, oh my god, I'm like I was like that. I was like, oh geez, like I'm actually just seeing things, but it was still moving across the sky, and I was like, oh freak, that is real, and something was preventing me from going outside. I was like, it was a real fear. It was like, no, Andy, like you need to stay here like right now, like stationary, like you should not move from your position. Like it was really a real feeling. Oh, I almost get the chills. Like it gets chills every time I explain this because it was so insane. Um, so it was must have been like 4 seconds. It goes across the sky, like 4 real seconds. And you think that this story is done, and you think it's done? Oh, buddy. And you think the story is done? Oh, it gets a little bit better. There's more to this. There's more. Okay, so this is the window again. And okay, so where the positioning of the house was like you can basically I could see my neighbor's house. So like okay, here we go. I know this is okay. Just okay. All right, we'll give him a little chimney or something. I don't know, whatever. Okay. I don't even think he's a chimney, whatever. Um so everything is pitch black dark, and this thing just flew across the sky. And then it's like, oh, okay, well that was insane. And then all of a sudden it was like maybe this color, this blue light. I'm not even making this up. Like it was a light blue light, and it basically it was shining on the side of my neighbor's house. On the side of my neighbor's house, it was lit up like light blue. This is like a light blue light. And I'm thinking like, okay, there's no electricity anywhere on this hill. Like the street light is out, and even if it was on, it doesn't make that color at all. Like the color of the light was like very distinctly different. And so like I didn't so here I'm so my head is like over here, and I'm trying to like, this is Andy, okay? And I'm trying to, so I put myself like in the corner of the window, trying to like basically extrapolate where the light rays were coming from, right? Because the thing is like you can kind of you do that with light rays, right? Like you can figure out like, okay, like it's coming from this angle and it's like this far away, and you can sort of extrapolate like, okay, like where do I think the light source is? And basically this is gonna be a little bit out of scale, but where Tukwila was and like where the house was and stuff was such that there was a mall. So we live like we live like right next to South Center Mall, and the mall was like, this is way out in the distance. This is like way out in the distance, okay? It was like, because we're on a hill, and so this is like down and away, if that makes any sense. Like north, like if this is like, if you're looking at the window and that's 12 o'clock, then you could say like 2 o'clock that way, but down was where the mall is located. But where the light was coming from was like way up here. It was like way up here. The light source must have been literally like above the mall, like above the mall though, because it came down at an angle. And it was just this insanely like super bright light. I'm just like, oh my god, what is going on, right? The mall, I think, still had power. I think I could still see a little bit of light in the distance, but man, that one was insane. Okay, let's. It was ridiculous. That I always love this story, but anyways, okay, let's get to the next. That was my first story. All right, so let's get to the next story. So then my next UFO sighting was this happened. Actually, this happened. Let me think. Last fall. So this was fall of 2018, and this must have been around October, roughly like October, November, or somewhere around there. And this happened 4 in the morning, and this one was interesting because the power goes out again. The power goes out again, and so I'm actually living in it, and this is a different living situation. So this is out in Bellevue. This is near Crossroads. I mean, if you guys that are not from Washington probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but basically I'm living in a different city, but also kind of close to a mall. And again, I have a window. I'm looking outside my window, and again, there was a tree line. So these are my trees, happy little trees. Oops, can't draw it. See, I can't even draw trees. Okay. Some were different heights, right? Like whatever. Okay. So this one was really interesting because the power goes out. We actually debunked that like there were some like electricians, or there were some people working like on the power lines or something that morning. And so that was actually a controlled thing. So I can't say like those things were like one caused the other or whatever. But the one in Tukwila was like very bizarre. I had no idea about that one. This one was interesting because this one wasn't even that high in the sky. So I look across and see the power goes out, and it's like, man, like I don't know what to do. So I just like look outside. I don't know, like, and again, it's pitch black dark, and I don't know what it looks like when it's like pitch black dark outside. Like it's just it's a completely different vibe, a completely different sort of like imagery, you know. So I look up and I see this thing, and it's like basically like an oval shape, and this thing had lights. It was like that, and basically this thing was rotating. So it was literally rotating like this. So I'm gonna try and draw it like that. Like not all of the lights were shining, but one or two at a time they would sort of turn on and off. And this was really interesting because one of my roommates actually claimed to see something similar like a week ago, and he didn't tell us about it. Like he didn't mention it or anything. But the moment I mentioned this, and the moment like I described to him like what I saw, he then also chimed in, was like, "Yo, I think I saw something very similar." Except the thing that he saw was actually during the day, and was actually going across like Bellevue Transit Center. It was basically going. It was during the day, and it was going over basically like a popular bus terminal, and it was like oval shaped, and it had this like spinning thing, kind of like, yeah, it was spinning of some kind. It looked like it was some kind of like search, like a search like a search ship, or some kind of like almost like sort of like if you imagine like a lighthouse. You know how a lighthouse sort of like rotates, but imagine that, but it rotates not left to right, but like up and down. Imagine it's kind of like that, almost like a searchlight. And the thing is like I think this was also on the radio. I don't know if it was on the radio or from on the local news or something. Other people have also like claimed to see something similar like this, and I just thought this one was interesting because like it wasn't just me that saw this. The other one at Tukwila, that one was just me. I'm pretty sure. Like I don't even know. Like no one else was awake during that Tukwila one. This one, this thing was straight up just like moving through the sky during the day. Though I mean, when I saw it, it was like 4 in the morning, so it's pretty dark. And this was also moving. This was also moving a little bit too, but this probably wasn't even like that high up in the sky. It must have been only like a couple 100 feet in the sky or something. And then it slowly like it went down into the tree line, and it kind of, it went down, and it was going like this, but then it went out of my field of vision. Like it went behind the tree line and out, like went further away. So if this was 12 o'clock, it was going oh sorry, I meant sorry, I made a mistake. When I was talking about the Tukwila one, no, if that was 12, I was talking about that must have been like 10 o'clock where that light was coming from. My bad, sorry. This is like 2 o'clock. It was going like 2 o'clock, but then away, and then this one just vanished away. So yeah, that was my second story, which was really, it was pretty cool. Like I was like, what is that? Like there's nothing, it didn't seem, I don't know, like this one was strange because I don't want to say it was like alien, because I know, because there's been sightings where like people have claimed to seen things that are like basically man-made, but and the thing is with the man-made ones, like they sort of like either, yeah, they rotate or they have moving parts. Usually like I can't say, but it's like for sure, but generally from what I've gathered, it's like usually the more out of the world ones are uniform, like they're not, and it's like one object. It doesn't have parts. There's nothing really like moving. So that one could have been like man-made, but I mean, I don't know. I can't really say. Okay, so this third story. Okay, so this third one, this happened just literally. This was like 2 weeks ago. It's like August 15th. Yeah, this happened. Yeah, it must have been like early August. It must have been like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it was so. This one was funny because a friend of mine who he's out in New York or New Jersey, I forget. He was telling me about a UFO that he had just saw, and he called me like right when it happened. He called me, and he's like, "Oh, Andy, dude, won't believe what I just saw." I'm like, "Dude, what is it?" And he's like, "Dude, I just saw this insane." And so he's telling me the story, and I was like, "Wow, that's insane." I don't want to tell you what he told me yet, but a couple of days later, I witnessed. So I was actually at work. So one of my side jobs is I basically do these like overnight security shifts, and I was at the Microsoft campus out in Redmond. And so this again, this was like probably like 3 in the morning or something. And the irony was that I was on my phone, and like I was actually like on YouTube looking at UFO. I was watching like some UFO related video or something. I think it was on Secure Team 10. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out that channel, Secure Team 10, maybe I'll probably put like a link in the description or something. Super cool channel. Like, oh man, the guy who runs that puts in so much work gathering like so much information. It's actually like, it's so cool. I love that channel for just anything UFO related. Like, it's so dope. Honestly, it's not even just like UFO. He does a bunch of other stuff too. But anyway, anyways, I'm on my phone. So I'm on my phone, and then I look up, and dude, it was literally like this. It was like this. So this all okay, so I look up, and this streak, it was so bright. I cannot even emphasize how bright this was. This was like 3 in the morning. The cloud, I remember the night too, because the night, it was a Friday night, and the clouds were moving very fast. That night was very windy, and so the clouds were very, very low, and they were moving very fast. And this all happens within, this one happens within like, sorry, I should have said in the other one, in the one in Bellevue, that one happened over the course of like 6 seconds. It was a little bit slower. The one in Tukwila happened over the course of maybe like 4 seconds. This one happens in, like, this all happens in maybe like 0.7 seconds. Sorry, that looks like a 6. This happens so insanely fast. So let me explain. It was so bright that it lit up the entire sky. I cannot even emphasize. And for how high it was in the sky, it was basically in front of the clouds. So the clouds were already like really low. These were like low altitude clouds. And this one was in front of the clouds. And it must have only been, yeah, a couple of hundred. It must have been like not more than 1,000 feet in the sky. It must have been like basically like how far like a firework would fly up in the sky. It was basically that height. Like if you were to launch a firework from the ground up into the sky and it explodes, excuse me, this is like how, that's just like the altitude we're talking about. And the thing is like it was a streak, and you could barely sort of make out the silhouette of this thing. And it was so weird because like it like the streak, so basically it went across like this, but then the streak trailed it like that. So it went like this, and then the streak went like that. It wasn't a one motion kind of thing. It was like the tail trailed it. And this whole happened so fast, and it was so bright. And the thing is like when I was like witnessing this thing, like as I was explaining to my roommate too, like say this is 0.7 seconds. So if this is 0.7, let's say this is like 0.35, so like the halfway mark, 0.35. Let's say at like 0.2 seconds, like right here, 0.2 seconds in, and my brain is already trying to rationalize what I'm witnessing. And the first thing that I was trying to think of was that, oh, this thing I'm looking at is a shooting star. Oh, it's a shooting star. And then And then as it all happened, I was like, no, that is not a shooting star. First of all, shooting star, you've all seen them, right? They're way out in the distance. They're like very tiny. They're kind of like these very tiny like streaks that go across the sky like that, like boom, right? And so it was just so funny because I could feel my brain trying to logically reason this out, and I put myself in my place very quickly because my senses, when all the variables sort of like came together, they were like, it's like, oh, she's no, it's not. It was like, and I don't know what I just saw. What was that? It was so bright, like, and it was like a firework that went off, and the feeling of it was very weird too because it almost felt kind of like personal. It is really interesting, and it felt like this was for me. It was such a weird thing, and that the whole context of things was just like, I was just watching some UFO video, and I look up, and this thing just goes across the sky like that, boom. And my friend over on the East Coast, he gives me a call, and he's trying to describe his thing. So he's telling me what he saw a couple days before this, and so this happened, and I didn't think of him. I didn't think of his story. I'm not trying to sort of this isn't like a confirmation bias kind of thing. It's like I'm not trying to say, like, it's not like I saw it and I'm like, oh yeah, that was the thing that my friend saw. It was more like, oh my god, what I just witnessed. And then 20 minutes later, when I was trying to put all the variables together, I was like, wait a minute, like, I think this is one of the same things that my friend saw. And he was saying the similar thing. He was saying basically like super bright, super fast. It was, and the thing is, the light, okay, here's the other thing about the light. The light, so this band, it was like a band of light. It was thick and it felt very tangible, like you could just grab it. And the how I describe it is like Wonder Woman's her little lasso. It's like just like a glowing light lasso. You know what I don't know. It's just completely solid, right? That's what this felt like. It was like this completely solid, tangible looking band of yellow light. Oh well, freaking okay, whatever. I'm not doing that. And it happened so fast. I'm like, wow, that was insane. And so yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I can describe about this? Like, not really. Yeah, I think that's it. Like, yeah, and that's basically it. Yeah, those are my three stories. Yeah, the one in Tukwila, which is the cloaked one. I like to call it that one, like the invisible cloaked one, where it goes over the, like, basically like over the clouds. There was the one in Bellevue, which had like that rotating light. And then there was this one. This was, I don't even know. I don't even know, man. All I'm saying is, like, I was just an observer, and I would just love to hear people's opinions. Like, I want to hear, like, I want to hear your guys' UFO stories, right? Like, I want to get this, to more awareness. Like, I'm not really trying. I'm not out here to, like, I'm really not out here to, to get attention. I want awareness on a topic like this, and that's kind of my goal here. And that, yeah, I just wanted to share this. So yeah, and yeah, those are my 3 UFO stories. Peace out.